There's a lot of students here, a lot of different students, and they all have different needs. Some students have a need for counseling. Some students might need help to get around, access for wheelchairs. I need help funding my education through college scholarships or grants. Everyone's different. So what they need to graduate is different.
Originally I chose Oakton because it just seemed smarter. I didn't know what I wanted to do out of high school, and it didn't seem to make sense to make my parents pay for me to go to a four-year school while I still have no idea what I want to do.
So first of all, I felt like I was starting high school all over again because I was like, oh, I took most of these classes in Nigeria.
When I first got to Oakton, I knew what I wanted to do, I just didn't know how to get there.
Right out of high school, I went to U of I initially, Urbana-Champaign, but I realized at the time, like, big school wasn't really my thing. In retrospect, I wish I had considered a community college beforehand.
Being able to connect with other students and feeling like you have a community within the school that you go to, and having students that you can say, hey, like I need help studying for this class, or hey, can I borrow that book you took that class, or would you want to take a class together, things like that, that when I first came to Oakton definitely wasn't there because, I felt like I was more on my own.
Oakton is a community, so every time you interact with someone, it's friendly. The teachers are always willing to help.
It's been great. I've met awesome faculty and students, and I love how diverse our community is.
Besides the career growth aspect of my experience here, I also grew as a person.
I think a huge thing for students coming here is being able to build a relationship with teachers. I think for faculty, the biggest thing would be being able to want to make that connection with students and create that bond, and that's not necessarily just focused on what you're teaching, but also getting the feedback from students and realizing that sometimes it's nice to have a little bit more of a not so classroom connection with a teacher.
It helps that have like a pretty intimate connection professionally as far as like with teachers and peers and whatnot.
And I especially enjoy the mentors and the teachers that are here because they work so closely with students on a personal level that you don't get that at other schools. You definitely don't.
The Director of Student Life and the Phi Theta Kappa Advisor, Anne-Marie Berry, she's really helped me through my difficult times, and she's guided me along the way.
My scholarship was the first thing that I had that was an actual formal interview that I had to sit down with someone. So that also paid for my schooling for my first years, which was wonderful, but that also opened a lot of doors.
I'm working at Oakton. I'm also going to be getting a part-time job soon, and I'm going to be a student. So just managing all those things together can be a struggle from time to time.
I was actually an undocumented student while I was here. So it was really difficult to find a school that wanted me, even though I had a 4.0 average. The activities that I was involved here actually gave me a full ride scholarship.
I got a pretty big scholarship, the Jack Kent Cook Scholarship, and they ended up putting almost $90,000 towards my education, and I would not have been able to do that without Oakton.
My friend who got into Robert Morris was like, hey Jason, you should apply. I applied, I got accepted, and they were offering me a scholarship. So I went, and within 5 weeks I left because it was not the collegiate experience I was hoping for. And I felt oftentimes in my classes that I felt like I was the only one that cared about my grade. Everyone else was just kind of like playing around. But in the end, I didn't have that sense of community, that feeling like I was one with the school like I would have hoped.
Not everyone who goes to community college is like, a dropout or a loser or doesn't know anything to what to do with their life. Some people just take different routes to the same goal, and that's the route I chose to take too.
I think a lot of focus is put on trying to get students more involved on campus through things like Fall Fest and programs like Emerging Leaders, and trying to give credit to students who attend certain events.
Most common assumption when you think like, people like the president or the vice presidents and deans, it's like, they're very like narrow-minded in thinking and probably could care less about the student perspective. It's only about what they feel is correct. But I found that they were very willing to hear student input. Dr. Maya Evans, I remember she has focus groups to hear from what we have to say regarding things like, you know, developmental education. And I was really surprised at the willingness to hear a student's perspective.
If you're older, they don't really push you that much. You're allowed to, I don't know about the young kids. I think they try to keep them on track a little bit more, you know, but for the older people, they kind of let you, you know, explore different areas and everything. Is kind of cool.
Everything in India, I didn't know what credits is, I didn't know what transferring is, I didn't know how school actually works. Now I have honors standing, which I didn't even knew what honors was. Now I have it. I have been President's Scholars. I didn't know what it was, but I was honored. Oakton gave me everything. I think I owe Oakton a lot.
And I think the biggest thing is how we take our approach to school. We put a lot of emphasis on getting an A, doing well academically in the classroom, and for some people that don't know how to balance the two, you focus more on grades, and it's great, you have a 4.0, but now you don't know how to talk to people, you don't know how to communicate your thoughts and ideas, you can't present information to those in a manner in which they can understand, which I feel are a lot of skills that many employers want.
I just love how the classes are really structured to help the students learn. I feel like the classes are really centered on the students' education.
One day I approached Anne-Marie, and she really helped me a lot. And I don't remember a lot of what she told me, but I do remember one thing, and that was her trust in me, that I could do it. And so she believed in me when I couldn't find the strength to believe in myself. And that was the one thing that really kept me going.
I feel like he's really changed me as a person because he sees your potential, and you know, like if you're not doing up to your potential, like he'll like not make you feel bad. Like he won't, it's not like he'll like make you feel bad, but he like is doing it because he knows what he's like, he knows what you can accomplish, but you're just being a lazy butt.
I always went by that rule, like, you know, this one quote I remember, you are the greatest sum of the 5 individuals you spend the most time with. So it was like, you know, you're surrounded by all these really bright, active students, and it just has an effect on you. You know, I want to aim high just like they're aiming high as well.
Like, you know, when you write a paper and the professor will grade it and they'll like correct like grammar mistakes, and then at the end they're like, oh, good job, very good analysis, and that's kind of it. So you don't really learn much from writing your paper after that. So my ethics professor actually emailed me after I turned in my first paper. If the kids are really trying to, you know, write a good paper, it feels nice to know somebody notices. So that's always a nice thing. And I actually emailed her back like, wow, this is the first time a teacher's actually, you know, said something other than great job.
So the first class or so I kind of fumbled through, and then I met up with the people in the TRIO office who really kind of walked me through the process of being a college student.
I joined a couple of programs that I sought out when I first came to Oakton, and they gave me a lot of support and advice. So I worked with Mike Houlihan trio, Gloria Liu in the STEM program, and they just helped point me in the right direction.
Kids are kind of like other college students that do the same thing as you. They're kind of like downers, but if you're motivated in succeeding, then you kind of like push everyone around you. But if you know, it depends on who you surround yourself with. So if you surround yourself with losers that don't go to class, then chances are you're not going to be in class.
Yeah, I got to talk to one of the counselors when I was a first year here. I got to talk to Linda Zimmerman. She helped with my anxiety and my depression.
I was homeless for a while, and I actually used Oakton as kind of my home base while I was homeless because I could come in here and continue to take classes even though I was homeless.
We were discussing ADHD and different types of things, and I was watching a video, and I got very emotional watching the video because I felt as if I was watching my childhood experiences in school. And through that class, I was then referred to the psychology department here, but I was actually screened and diagnosed with ADHD, and then also given tons of resources on understanding it as an adult.
I went to Bosnia, which is in Europe, for 2 months, and I lived in like this village with my grandmother, and I was able to visit schools and like college campuses and see how those kids like really were committed to succeed. I have so many outlets, but those kids over there, like they're really like fighting for, like their spot. And here, like I feel like that's kind of just handed to us, and we don't really work for it. But I think that those kids go above and beyond for what they do, and here we just kind of take it for granted. So I totally learned that I should stop taking it for granted.
I had a very strict schedule for myself where I felt like I had to finish school by a certain year, and so I was pushing myself to do that and not realizing that I was getting burned out.
Well, we started the study breakfast, which is basically in the last 2 weeks of the semester. Students are able to go in for tutoring, which is extended until about 9 o'clock at night. They're able to get free breakfast, pancakes, bacon, all that fun stuff.
My family is a big pusher, and it's really nice that once I do succeed, like I recently got a scholarship for next fall and spring semester, so she was really happy about that, and it's just fun seeing her, giddy about me succeeding.
I live with my mom and my aunt. My mother is currently unemployed, but my aunt, she pays for major stuff like utilities and rent, and then my income supplements for things like food, TV, just other things.
So I think being able to create that bond with students, open connection, even if it's through getting back with emails or having office hours where they're there and you can come in and ask questions, or hanging around after class for a couple minutes or before class. I mean, those are huge things that make a difference for students, I feel like.
And also be able to take what you learned at school and transfer it to a real-world application. And I've had plenty of teachers at Oakton, thankfully, that have done that, where they force me to take what I've learned and apply it to a real thing.
You're in charge of your own life, so if you let things get to you and let things keep you behind, then they will. But if you have this, if you have the right mindset, you could really do anything.